You're listening to The Talent Sync, a collaborative podcast production about anything and everything recruiting and hiring. Literally the kitchen sink on how all things in talent acquisition work together, should work together, and how sometimes they don't. Now it's time to sync up with your hosts, Leah Daniels and Kevin Grossman. Today's episode is about decimating entry-level and the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Enjoy the podcast. Leah, how are you doing? I hear it's snowing in your neck of the woods. Is that correct?
I am looking at so much snow, and it is continuing to come down.
Yeah.
Surprise snow for today. I didn't even know we were getting any. But yeah, we are making up for many seasons of mild winters by getting all of it right now. So bring your snow boots.
You
It's
know,
gonna be fun.
not where I'm at. Nope, I won't. I won't tell you that it's 70 degrees right now in Santa Cruz, and that I was just at a conference, the TA week in San Diego, and it was 76 degrees the past 2 days. So, but that's why they
I
have
think that
that's why they have conferences in San Diego in January, right? In February. So,
I'm
isn't
pretty
that
sure the high for me is like 7 this week. So thank you for that.
well, one of my my longtime team member and coworker Ron Malcolmer, who I've done the candies with for a long time, over 11 years, lives in Minneapolis now, and so they've been besides all the other fun, which we don't have to talk about on this call, that they've been having. The weather has been just sub-zero, and a bunch of people that came to the conference I talked to, it was from Chicago, subarctic, just
Yeah,
total
we
subarctic. Yeah.
like I said, we're making up for those mild winters we've had recently by getting all of it out of the way right now. So next year we'll be fine. Like I'm being positive about it.
I can't, we can't, you and I, especially doing this Talent Sync podcast and really sharing about what we're seeing, learning from each other. Hopefully, the listener, are enjoying it. These conversations that we have, but we can, obviously, almost everyone now, we can't not talk about the impact of AI because it's so prevalent in everything we do personally and professionally. And I know right before we hit record, you and I both have kids. Mine are looking at college and the future a little bit more than sooner than yours are. But the reality is that I do worry, right? I do worry about the impact of AI on jobs, although if that hasn't happened, and we can talk more about that and unpack that. But what I also worry about is for those. So when I think about my oldest, who's going to be a teacher, I think that she'll be fine for a long time to come. Our youngest wants to be in marine biology and marine science. AI is going to be taking some of that junior level research away, probably, but the humans actually acting on it aren't going away anytime soon in many different fields like that. But man, don't you think that this college grad market in 2026 is going to be just as brutal as last year?
Oh, and if you look at the unemployment data, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to peel it apart, just to be clear, the way we measure
Yeah.
data on that group is a little tough, but there's data that says it's somewhere between 7 and 10% of new grads are still unemployed. That's from this past May graduating cycle. And you have to say, okay, on one hand, we have a cooled economy for sure,
Yeah.
but there is a lot of intentionality, or has been some intentionality, of not hiring new grads because the AI can do it. And you and I've talked about this. We talked about how important it is for your future managers and your future senior leadership and your future just doers to have a starting place in your organization, like asking them to leapfrog that first step, how you operate in a business, like how to show up for a meeting prepared, how to
Yeah.
build a presentation that lands. Like there's a lot that you learn that the AI doing that work, the output work of a new grad might be more short term cost effective, but certainly might have a long term negative on not just each individual business, but actually society as a whole. I think we're in for an interesting ride by failing these grads coming out of school.
So there's, and you and think about that ripple effect of again taking away that early entry level, junior level work that then preps you for middle management and senior leadership at some point. And now we're kind of removing this layer and leaning more on AI, which isn't working like I think a lot of organizations wanted it to work. So you and I were just talking about, for example, that a lot of the, again, analyzing content and writing content and making some inference work that way, but the kind of the in between. So for example, this Fast Company article that I just shared with you before this call, talking about how yes, it can code like the best of them for absolutely sure, but when it comes to actually testing and QAing and all of those things of what the human level has always done much more better and more intuitive about than what the AI. I mean, there's AI that's scrapping whole stacks of code because they can't figure it out and how to get it to test correctly, and so they kill it. And right, and
Yeah,
all that time and investment is gone. And I mean, maybe, and I don't know, who knows at what point that maybe that gets better, but it just feels like to me. So maybe yes, sure, you're saving headcount, and that's why we have such an not maybe not so much just it's a cooler market overall, as we're saying, on the hiring side. But and a lot of organizations still have more and more planned to do more efficiencies with AI doing admin work and tasks and even conducting research, which I'm like, that's great for me, right? But be out of the candy job. But but there's been, customer backlash. We already talked about this in one of our past podcasts about the Salesforce, right?
yeah.
Realizing that they made an error. But I mean, I mean, what say you? I mean about that right now because I mean the train again has left the station. This is not going to stop. But what are we doing to our future workforces? I mean, sure, more people can go into the trades. There's always that. You made a good comment to me though, like we were talking about our own kids, and you said that that's fine if my kids want to go into the trades, but they also have to take business administration courses so they know how to run a business. That's brilliant. Love it. But what are we doing
Think
to?
it's interesting, right? We AI went on its hype cycle as one does with any kind of new cool tech, and we're riding the hype cycle out at this point in time. And it has its usefulness as a tool. And I feel like that's the thing of 2026 as a tool. We're gonna hear everybody say it over and over again. AI is a tool, AI is a
Yep.
tool. It's not a human anymore. We've been talking about this for a long time. Not a human anymore. We're gonna maybe stop naming it humanoid names and stop making it look like a
We're not going
humanoid.
to
And
W for it. Nope.
we're definitely
Nope.
1099ing all of our droids. And so I think we're going to see that companies are going to pull back. So you mentioned coding, for example, and a lot of organizations have found that where the AI from a coding standpoint is particularly useful is in rapid prototyping. And I 100% am on board with this. We do it
Yeah.
too. I love it. It is so good to rapid prototype.
Yep.
What you can't do is take that rapid prototype and shove it into your tech stack because it literally will break everything, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're finding is that it's pretty good surface level, quick, like I said, quick rapid prototyping, but it lacks the security you need. It lacks the data protections you need. It lacks the process you need
Right.
to ensure that your technology somewhere else does not break. And I think that piece is where we got overexcited when we saw the rapid prototypes that was going to turn into full development tech stacks, and it hasn't. Maybe it will. I don't know. My crystal ball is terrible, but
Yeah.
it is getting to a point where I think we can put a box around it better. And then now you get into the other half of this, which is why we're not hiring the new grads. Well, I think we didn't hire the new grads because everybody at the very top of these organizations heard AI is going to replace the
Yep.
workforce and all this stuff. We're going to name them all George. It's going to be great. And we built business strategy and direction on that. And now we're getting to where the rubber is meeting the road. And what we're finding is that companies who are adopting it are getting in trouble, and companies who are waiting and seeing are in a much better place, right? But the ones that went all in and adopted, some of them are getting in trouble, and they're getting in trouble in different ways, right? So we have companies who are lawsuits are happening. We'll talk about that.
Which well,
But
yeah,
we
we'll get
also
to that in a minute. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but we also have I think I don't know if I told this story to you on the call, but I started a company recently who made the decision to not hire any more frontline customer service people. They're going to not hire any more. They're going to AI all of it. And they even did a riff. And so they went from something like 100 to 10. Okay, that's a cost savings. And their customer satisfaction scores went through the floor.
Yeah,
People were
and
very unhappy.
not surprised by that. I mean, so but way before where we're at today, r- most people despise getting caught into phone trees when you're trying to contact customer service. And I know
Yep,
some of that's AI driven now, but it wasn't before. It was technology driven.
yep,
But it was still a pain in the butt. And so there's this study that the project management platform Asana did that they said 77% of workers are using AI agents. Not, I know there's a high number of us that are using these tools. I agree with you about prototyping.
yep.
For me, crunching huge amounts of data quickly and helping me with the research has been tremendous. And
Amazing.
I mean, there's just some amazing benefits as well. But two-thirds of these same people who said they're using it say that the tools have been unreliable, and they're spending an extra almost 5 hours a week fixing what I love what they're calling AI work slop.
Yes.
So maybe at some point that gets less and less potentially, but I think we're kind of still early days in this disruptive stage in the world and technology. I mean, we saw a lot of this messiness around when the internet launched as well, the World Wide Webs as they called them, and look where we're at today. But I mean, I just think that I think it's a mistake, and I think that that there's going to be a lot of. I mean, I like other countries around the world when the individuals that are under the age of 20 or under the age of 30 when there's 25 to 30% unemployment. That is not good
No.
for the early generations. It's not good for crime. It's not good for just so many different things on a social fabric level.
Right.
Even if you have the benefits and you and the tax um the tax covered healthcare, and I mean the list, whatever the case is, I mean that's just not good for people who so we got to figure out, and I know we want to talk about the legality aspect or some of the latest things that are out there too, but how do we then couple these AI tools with the humans to be able to foster growth and development, and not at the expense of humans, but in a much better, more productive way that's going to help businesses grow. And because another big part of the problem is that the senior level people who are having to manage more and more because more people are getting burnt out and they're leaving or will leave, maybe not in this market per se, because I know people are actually staying and waiting right now. But at some point, there will be significant burnout, and then what happens to that whole generation underneath that didn't have entry level opportunities? I mean, I don't, and
Well,
nobody's thinking through that, Lee. It doesn't feel like, I mean, our freaking U.S. federal government certainly not. So
but it's interesting, right? Because there's another piece in this puzzle that we're not thinking about. Actually, a couple pieces. So one is that this group of people who are not getting hired right now are now becoming victims of other ploys. So you're seeing a push on AI bots, as we know, but they're
yeah,
paid for. You're also seeing a push on these AI master classes, like learn everything you need to know about AI in 12 hours or less for the low cost of your lifetime, whatever it is. But we are seeing them become victims as well, right?
Hmm.
Because you have a lot of people who are capitalizing on this group of people who are desperate to find work. And how can you stand out in a crowd? How can you get your resume in front of the recruiter? So we it does tie in that this group becomes a bigger set of victims when these situations occur. The other thing that's happening that I think is really important is for the companies who made the decision to go all in on AI and to reduce their headcount or not hire. If they come to a point where they change their mind and they're like, oh, maybe we should have done this, we should hire, you've now lost a lot of your training knowledge workers, and your workers who are busy supporting your business do not have capacity to train the new ones because you have removed any excess. So bringing new people on becomes extraordinarily difficult,
Yeah.
right? So you get yourself in this, rock and a hard place where you can't really take your people off their work that they are doing because they're drowning because the AI didn't come up to its potential to bring on the new people, but they can't because the phone's ringing. You got to talk to the customer
Right.
who's yelling at you,
And
right?
there,
And the world. Go ahead. Yeah,
well, no, and then and then attrition kicks in, and
burnout.
you
Yeah,
have burnout, and you have people that are like, I cannot do this anymore, and they're going elsewhere, whatever. I mean, it's a pretty horrific cycle, and I mean, I know that there's been a lot of media play, a lot of even government officials and business leaders that are saying, well, we definitely need a lot more people in trades. I mean, we talked about this before, like that art, the whole thing about the Ford CEO saying we can't even fill our mechanic jobs.
yeah.
So, I mean, so yes, there is opportunity out there, but we really are. Um, I would also argue destroying a future tax base, basically. You're listening to the Talent Sink. Keep on sinking. With us, not really sink with us. Thank you. What do your candidates think of your recruiting process? The annual Candy Benchmark Research and Awards program helps you and your organization measure and understand your overall candidate experience ratings from pre application to onboarding. Benchmark your candidate experience today. Go to surveil.com/candies, Candes. Yeah, I
All
mean,
right.
potentially for in this country and around the world for that matter. And but we're so, I mean, the deficit's at 39 trillion right now in the US, and nobody's talking about doing anything about it anytime soon. And any talk that they've had about it is not, I mean, we're just going to continue to pile on in this near term, short term hindsight, no federal guidelines around AI and how it's being applied and how we're training future workforces. I worry we're heading down that, the what's the show with all, not, I mean, it's beyond Twilight Zone. It's like a Black Mirror, right? I mean,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
like we're heading down the wrong fork. It feels like that. We're heading down
Well,
the wrong
it's
the wrong
and
fork.
and and we were talking about this. It gets more and more expensive to get education, right? To get an education to do many of these jobs, not just the 4 year college education, but
Yeah,
you think about a lot of nursing and a lot of the roles in the hospitals that we do know are going to need a non AI
correct.
person,
Hmm.
entity, thing. I don't know what the right word is. Humanoid to do the work. And now we are reclassifying those and not letting them be subject to some of the tax benefits and the loan opportunities to help afford those educations, right? So
Yeah,
we are really in for a conundrum when we look at our workforce in the next 20 and 30 years. So it's super challenging for I think the kids coming up, but I think the employers are going to be challenged too because they are. I had somebody explain this to me the other day about a TA leader. I think I've told you this. I love this description.
yeah.
TA leaders don't pick their goal, like what's the hiring goal? They don't pick it. They don't pick their budget. They get one. They often don't pick their software or their systems,
No, they
like the
don't.
monoliths that
No.
they get those chosen. They've got um, regulations and compliance requirements. They didn't get a voice at that table. And then also now go meet your goals. And here's your foam sword. Good luck, right?
Yeah.
Go fight some windmills. And when you think about it like that, the TA leaders, I think, are looking at this situation with our new grads, knowing we're going to have a problem and
Yeah.
not having any voice or any way to get heard by leadership to get the right decision to be made. So I,
Yeah.
I do, I feel for the TA leaders who I think are watching this going, I know this is going to be a train wreck that I have to clean up later.
I just read and heard that we're to the level of layoffs that we had in the Great Recession.
In 2008, 2009.
Yes. I mean, based on
Yes.
we're to
Yeah.
that level in the past year and a half now, except we're to that level, and there's not really a lot of net new hiring. I mean, even at the our own customers that we work with and at TA Week, I mean, there are definitely pockets of industries that are still thriving as much as they can, and that includes the hiring of entry level folks for very specialized roles, whether it's biotech, healthcare, um, but for tech and for a lot of even finance and insurance, accounting, AI starting to encroach on that. And I just think, and then you've got, I know I don't want to make sure time gets away from us either. We've already talked about in the past the lawsuits that are popping up and Workday and HireVue and the Intuit one. And now there's this one, which I know folks have already been talking about, but the one with Eightfold. So can you highlight that for us a little bit? What like because this one's kind of an end around because it wasn't directly related to
Yeah.
AI initially, right? So,
Well, and if you read the lawsuit, it's not related to AI at all, in
right.
theory, right? And I had a good giggle a little bit using a law from the 70s as your basis for a complaint. But the short version is the claimant is saying that Eightfold is creating these reports or dossiers on candidates.
Yeah.
How they're creating it is most likely through AI, but they are creating them, and or according to the complainant,
Yep.
they are secret dossiers, meaning that the candidate does not have access to them, they cannot
Correct.
see them, and they cannot dispute them. And that dispute word is going to come up a lot, I think. So they can't dispute it, meaning they can't say, "Hey, you created this dossier that says that I get high every night, every my life, and I've never even touched any drugs." Like I can't say that's not true. That's someone else with my name, but a different person. There's nothing. You have no way to combat that, and I think that's where this is going to get sticky when we get to AI, in particular AI scoring, because there are lots and lots of tools in the market that have exploded to help recruiters deal with the volume of candidates
Yes.
coming in, and the AI score is the go-to move. And the problem is if the candidate doesn't know they've been scored, they also can't dispute the score.
That's where you're totally right. Where you're going to see a lot more of this because that literally is the heart of the Federal Fair Credit Reporting Act of being able to ensure that any reporting around me is fair and accurate. That
Yeah.
there are privacy things to beholden, and as well as do I have the opportunity to dispute incorrect information and incomplete
Well, and in
information?
particular, this can have a financial impact on the candidate. That's the piece that I think is going to really be the one that gets this whole thing tied together. Is that if I am not selected for this job, that has a financial impact on me. So it's similar to if you don't get that loan for your car because they had the wrong credit score because somebody messed up. Your car company or whoever you're trying to get the loan from says, "Kevin, you got a 400 credit score." You're like, "Whoa, what are you talking about? I am spotless on my credit report. What are you talking about?" You can dispute it,
Yeah,
right?
right,
But like if I say, "Hey, Kevin, not hiring you," you can't dispute that.
right. See, you look back at all these, and by the way, what Eightfold is doing, take even with or without AI analyzing and ranking and all the stuff we were just talking about, many different platforms and tele, there's been so many that have done this, that they're collecting information across on us,
Yeah.
and they may claim that they're not scraping, but that's they're taking all this information that is available out collecting on us, and we don't have the opportunity. And this, but this has been going on for a long time. This isn't new. This is just
Right.
it's just new that somebody is taking that a law firm is taking that bias lawsuit
Yeah.
through that
Well,
avenue.
and that, you know this, I worked for 10 years at a company called Zoom Info.
Yeah.
And Zoom Info, the basis of the whole business was to be able to scrape publicly available data and build a dossier on you. Now, it didn't, at the time at least, we weren't ranking. It was really about a search function to find people you can't normally find. And their primary customer is still sales and marketing, although they do have recruiting customers. But Zoom was very early. I mean, early in its business to allow people to come in and say, your data on me is wrong.
Yes.
I want to look myself up and I want to say you're wrong and I can dispute it and I can. So they always gave candidates or just humans, I guess, an opportunity to dispute. Now, here is where it gets tricky is when you're using that data inside another system and you can't dispute it. I think this is where it's going to become really messy. I think this is
Yeah.
where the smart scoring tools, the resume scoring tools, and the are you qualified, whatever that means, scoring tools are going to get tricky.
Yep.
I think this is actually a bigger threat to the systems out in the market than the Mobley
Yeah, I
lawsuit.
agree.
I think the Mobley law,
I agree with you on that. Yeah, I mean, based on what I'm again, don't even play an employment lawyer on TV, but
yeah,
much as that what I know and what you and I have also discussed in the past, I mean, I do think there's going to be there's, and I think a lot of people that the different commentaries that I've seen that there potentially will be more of this too. But I mean, and I, and then because I just, we're not right now, we're not really going to get a lot of help from the EEOC currently. Right.
no,
It's just not going to happen. And we're just not going to have, so it's just going to be, and just in summation, and again, I think you and I, out of all these conversations that we've had, you and I definitely are proponents of the potential positive benefits of leveraging AI technology in our lives, in our industries, in our business. It's like any technology that's used for good. I mean, there's a
yeah,
lot of, I don't think that's not what we're saying, but I think we are taking the wrong fork in the road, and I do think that we're doing a disservice for future generations. So it's Generation Alpha is the next one, right? Isn't it? Is it an Alpha?
yep, yep.
Is the
Mine,
next?
my kiddo is the last of the Z's,
Yeah.
right?
So
He's the last year before the
yep,
alphas.
yep.
But some of this is going to get sorted out by that point when the alphas come into the workforce for sure. But I think that there is a moment in time here, right, where we as a society do care more about fairness and people having a real opportunity to be considered for jobs. And I think that that isn't going away as the next generation. I think this is going to be more and more where, maybe a little discrimination against women was we're more comfortable with that in the 70s than we are today in that way. But I think this is something that the AI, whether or not it is biased or not, is actually less be less of the focus in the courts. I think it's harder to prove in a lot of ways, but I do think that the opportunity to dispute, especially inaccurate or incorrect information,
Right.
is something that 100% is going to get supported in the courts. I think the courts are going to support that, and I do think that the candidates have a valid argument in that you shouldn't be able to use information that you cannot, dispute. But on the other hand, Kevin, how many times have you done a backdoor reference on a candidate? And the candidate never got to dispute that either.
That is true. That is true. I know. I think that, well, there's a lot more transparency to come to light in the near and even long-term future right now. I think that this AI escalation on both the candidate side, legal side as well as the employer side and the vendors, it's going to continue. There's going to be a lot. You're right about that. Totally. I think we're just, but as always, Leah, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. And thank you everybody for listening to us chat away about all these things that I'm sure are top of mind for many of you as well. And getting your talent sync on. I got to start using more of the Gen Z hip language, like no cap, Leah. And so,
Oh
but
yeah.
but but my kids tell me that once I say it, it's dead. So.
Oh, I haven't even tried. Somebody said drip to me the other day, and I was like, "You've got drip," and I was like, "Thanks." Wait, is that a thanks or not a thanks? I
It's
don't
fire,
know.
dude. It's
Is
fire.
it good?
It's
Is
yeah,
drip good? I
I
don't know.
know.
It seems
It's
bad.
it's valid, dude. Anyway, but always a pleasure, Leah, to get talent synced with you and everybody else listening in. And until the next time, we'll see you soon.
Stay warm, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Talent Sync podcast, a Surveil Candy and Job Sync collaboration. More episodes soon. Subscribe to our podcast via your favorite podcast player today.